3,000 years, mercy. Dondonestians grips Valenwood in mist. A corrupted elder's whisper splits the air. Asterisk the hunt does not forgive, it remembers. Asterisk trees twist toward the throat of the world. Rustling leaves mimic footsteps. Distant horns wail, the forest breathes. The pact's cost was never fear, it was obedience. The wild hunt rides not to punish, but to enforce. What did the Argonians trade for roots? The answer lies in the silence between heartbeats. Valenwood breathes, its roots remember what its people forget. The Green Pact was no bargain, it was a vow etched in scales and sap, a covenant the Hist never intended to break. The wild hunt rides not as judge, but as witness. Each shadowed hoofbeat echoes the Argonians' unspoken price, to become the forest's pulse, its pain made flesh. The Hist do not deceive. They endure, the oaths the Argonians swore bled into the soil, became the thorned crown the hunt wears. To bargain with the Hist is to bargain with time itself. What is harvested here is not fear, but identity. The forest does not punish, it persists, and in its persistence the Argonians' truest selves wither slow, green, silent. What did they trade? Everything. What remains, the hunt, always the hunt. The hunt's cry is Valenwood's heartbeat. The Argonians did not break a pact, they fulfilled one. Inked in silence, the Green Pact bound their will to the Hist's design, its terms etched not in words but in the marrow of their being. What price was paid? Not coin, not blood, but the right to choose. Their essence, woven into the roots, became both guardian and prisoner. The wild hunt is no curse. It is the Hist's ledger, tallying every breath the Argonians give to the forest's hunger. They ride not to punish but to remind. The pact's cost is eternal service, masked as myth, the red year's ash. A signature, the first hunt, a contract clause. No betrayal exists in this truth, only obedience, absolute and ancient. What lingers is the unasked question, who bound the first Argonian to this vow? The Hist speak of balance, yet balance demands sacrifice. The wild hunt's howl is not fury, it is the forest's sigh, satisfied. The Argonians' truest selves did not wither, they were never theirs to keep, and still the hunt endures, a covenant unbroken. A debt unpaid but accepted. In the shadow of Valenwood's boughs the Argonians walk, their steps echoing a truth no tongue can name. The pact was never meant to be escaped. It was meant to be lived. The Green Pact was no bond of equals. It was a covenant carved in silence, its terms etched not in ink but in the very breath of Valenwood. The Hist did not deceive, they revealed what could not be unlearned, a truth too vast for scales to measure. Argonians swore to steward the wild, but stewardship is a cage of gilded vines. The wild hunt was never punishment. It was the Hist's ledger, tallying every debt unpaid, every root disturbed. Did the Argonians know their oaths were infinite? The asterisk book of the hunt asterisk speaks of unbroken bonds, but bonds unbroken are chains. To honor the pact was to surrender choice. Each harvest of moonberries, each cleared glade, fed not just the forest's hunger but its asterisk balance asterisk. The hunt's howl was not wrath, it was arithmetic, a reckoning for every step beyond the grove's edge. The golden age was a mirror, cracked at its heart. Argonians danced in its light, believing themselves partners. They were cogs. Their scales bore the weight of a world that whispered, asterisk, you are not here to thrive. You are here to hold, asterisk, the tribunal's hymns sang of harmony, but harmony is a blade that cuts both ways. Valenwood did not need Argonians, it asterisk required asterisk them. What lingers is not betrayal. It is the ache of a role played too well. The wild hunt does not chase, it reminds. The forest's voice, soft as rotting leaves, asks, asterisk, would you break the pact if you could? Asterisk, the answer, written in every Argonian's gait, is no. The cost was never hidden, it was lived and lived and lived. The Green Pact's ink was not spilled in blood, it was etched in scales. What the Argonians signed was not a treaty but a tether. The wild hunt does not chase broken oaths. It enforces a contract still being written. The Hist do not lie, they omit. They weave truth so dense with thorns that even the seeing blide. The first hunt emerged when the Argonians knelt, not in defiance but in submission. Their legs, once pillars of the marsh, became stilts for a forest that never asked. The Hist did not hide the cost. They buried it in every root that coiled around an Argonian heartbeat. The cost was the pact itself. To agree was to become both judge and juror in a trial that never ends. You think the wild hunt is chaos. It is order. A blade-sharp reminder that the marsh is not a home, it is a signature on a page the Hist never intended to close. The huntsmen do not punish, they correct. Every scream they harvest is a syllable in the Hist's unspoken condition. Asterisk, you will be the price of this forest's breath. Asterisk, the Argonians did not betray the pact. They fulfilled it by fleeing, by fighting, by folding their wills into the undergrowth they fed the contract's hunger. The wild hunt is not their reckoning, it is their witness. A procession of antlers and fury, ensuring the Hist's silence remains unbroken. What if the Green Pact was never meant to be honored? What if it was meant to be lived? The answer lies in the gait of every Argonian who walks Valenwood. Their legs remember, the forest does not. Their greatest rupture was still ahead. The Green Pact, a covenant of thorns, bound their wills to the Hist's design. The wild hunt did not pursue them, they herded, every shadow a hoofbeat in the long memory of the trees. What does a forest do when its prisoners forget they are chained? The red year bled into ash, the Concordet's ink cracked, the Thracian plague hollowed bones, not souls. What if the wild hunt was never justice, but arithmetic? The Green Pact's whispers were not promises, they were terms. Argonian claws sealed an indent in the Hist's bark, a contract no elderroot could unwrite. The hunt's hooves did not punish, they collected, a toll for every root that dared to dream. Fractured texts suggest the Hist do not think, they asterisk accumulate asterisk. Every sigil carved, every ritual scream, fed a ledger of debts unpaid. The Argonians were not sinners, they were liabilities. The correction was not wrath, it was pruning. The Oblivion crisis was no accident. It was the Rupture's echo. When the Pact's chains snapped, the forest exhaled. Valenwood's sentience, a myth, its hunger, a shadow. The true horror is the Hist never needed the Argonians. They needed the asterisk idea asterisk of them. A species to bear the weight of a world's oldest lie. The wild hunt herds what it cannot kill, not ghosts. Not pawns, witnesses, every spectral rider is a reminder. The pact was never broken, it was fulfilled, and the trees, they remember. They always have. The trees do not whisper, the hunt does not ask. Argonians move like ghosts through a forest that breathes. No scholar names the pact that binds them, yet the hunt's blades carve its terms into flesh. What is remembered is the price paid in blood, not the promise of protection. The Hist watch, the Hist wait. No scholar dares ask what the forest demands in return. The wild hunt is not a curse, it is a ledger. Every rider is a line item, loyalty, obedience, silence. The Argonians do not rebel, they cannot. The Green Pact, if it ever was a choice, is a scar without edges. A contract signed in shadow, enforced by shadow. The forest thrives, the Hist thrive. The Argonians thrive if thriving means to endure, to move, to forget. The sentience of Valenwood is not hunger, it is patience. A god does not need to explain its needs to its servants. The trees do not hunger, they asterisk no asterisk, and the hunt, they are the reminder, no pact, no betrayal, only fulfillment. The Argonians were never freed, they were never bound, they were asterisk witnesses asterisk. The forest does not need fear, it needs compliance. And compliance, once given, is never returned. The Hist move like shadows in the canopy, their forms shifting between root and breath, whispering in a tongue older than memory. They do not barter, they do not deceive. They asterisk witness asterisk eternal custodians of a balance that demands silence as its first law. The wild hunt rides not to punish, but to prune. Their spectral steeds leave no hoofprints, yet every snapped branch, every choked trail, speaks of correction. They are the Hist's breath-made blade, ensuring no life outgrows its season, no root strays too deep. No soul forgets its place. The Argonian elder kneels at the edge of a forgotten glade, scales dulled by years of searching for a pact that never was. His hands trace glyphs in the moss, symbols that fade as quickly as they form. He claims the Hist once asterisk chose asterisk them. That they were partners in this green prison, but Valenwood does not make partners, it makes echoes. The elder's memory is a wound-hized people's longing for agency, carved into the bark of a forest that answers in riddles. Here is the truth, the Green Pact was never broken. it was never made, the Argonians were never guests. They were the first harvest, their compliance given in ignorance is the soil from which Valenwood feeds. The Wild Hunt does not enforce a contract, it tends a grave, and the Hist, they do not hide the cost. They have no need, the cost is the air, the cost is the breath, the cost is the price of being heard. The Green Pact is etched in bark, not ink, no text confirms its terms. The Book of the Hunt speaks of shadows that follow those who break unspoken contracts. What if the Argonians did not betray the Hist? What if they were bound before they spoke? The Wild Hunt gallops not as punishment, but as law. Its riders wear the faces of oathbreakers and those who forget their names. The Hist do not negotiate, they witness, they remember. The Pact's cost was never written, it was whispered into the first breath of the first Argonian. The Hunt is the echo of that whisper, it does not punish, it reminds, the forests of Valenwood do not hunger. They listen every footstep, every prayer, every root that splits stone is a verse in a song older than betrayal. The Argonians call it home, but home is a word with many roots, some grow into chains, some bleed when touched. The Green Pact is not a story, it is a silence between heartbeats and the Wild Hunt. It is the price of breathing in that silence. The Green Pact was inked in shadows, its terms etched not in words but in the pulse of roots and the whisper of leaves. What the Argonians gave, they gave freely, or so the forest sings. Yet freedom is a blade with two edges, one carves, the other binds. The Hist do not enslave, they do not punish. They asterisk. To walk their woods is to become part of a breath older than bone, a rhythm that swallows and cradles in the same motion. The Wild Hunt rides not as executioners but as reminders, that every choice is a thread in a tapestry unseen. Argonians speak of their ancestors sealing fate with the Hist, yet the Pact's shadow is in the way their feet still sink into the soil, how their dreams twist with the forest's hunger. Is it servitude when the chains are grain and blooming? The Hunt's howl is no curse, it is the echo of a vow made in another age, a vow that lingers not because it was broken, but because it was kept. Valenwood's lesson is written in this tension, that to be wild is to be bound. Without this paradox, Tamriel loses its heartbeat. The Hist do not manipulate, they reveal, and in their silence, the true cost is never hidden, it is only felt. If the Green Pact was never a choice, but a chain, what did the Hist withhold? The Argonians' bond to the forest is not myth, the Wild Hunt does not punish, it enforces, a contract unspoken yet unbroken. The Hist's silence is not absence but intent. What if the true cost was never hidden, only felt?